You ever want an example of violence begets more violence? Watch this movie. The Punisher, released in 2004 and is directed by Jonathan Hensleigh, who is really known for his writing works on films like Die Hard with a Vengeance, Jumanji, The Saint, Armageddon, and Next. Basically, all those straight-to-DVD releases with Nicolas Cage. I like this guy already. And this film is starring Thomas Jane and John Travolta, which is a really big name for, at this time, doing a comic book superhero-type movie. It was actually pretty progressive for this genre. Frank Castle is an undercover cop that has recently retired. However, in his last sting operation, the son of Howard Saint ended up being shot. So to get revenge on his son's death, Howard Saint orders his goons to murder Frank Castle and his entire family. But this is Marvel Comics. The main character will not die. So after being stabbed, beaten, shot, and exploded, Frank Castle comes back with a plan to act out his revenge on Howard Saint and his entire family. Violence begets more violence. Where does it end? 2004. This was a really fun time when it comes to the superhero comic book genre. I've always known these characters. I've seen them on Marvel cartoon shows, whether it's the X-Men or the animated Spider-Man series. I know who the Punisher is. Spider-Man, X-Man, all of these guys. And all of them were coming out with their big blockbuster films. It technically started with Blade in 1997, but really it started kicking off with X-Men in 2000, Spider-Man in 2002. Then we get to 2003, I believe, with X-Men 2, X-Men United. And then we have 2004 with the release of Spider-Man 2 and The Punisher. Two comic book movies coming out in 1 year. That was incredible for a kid like me at that time. Nowadays, we have so many comic book movies that come out every single year that I do a ranking of all the movies that come out in the superhero comic book genre at the end of the year. A picture, if you will, a time where we would get one superhero movie a year, or two. I think this is like the very first time that two came out in a year. I'm probably mistaken on that, but just from my memory, that seems about right. But this character, Frank Castle, the Punisher, he is not a superhero. There is nothing super about him. He is just a regular guy who used to be a soldier, he's a cop, and he's just an overall badass. And in the mythos of any superhero character, we typically have a death or a passing that makes an imprint on our superhero, on our protagonist, that causes them to go out to do good and to try to make the world a better place. Whether it's Martha and Thomas Wayne being shot in an alleyway, or whether it's Ben Parker being shot when he was trying to stop a robbery from happening, this comic book character not only has one person close to him shot, his entire fucking family go. And it's not done in a poetic way, it's not done in an epic way. This is a hit, and bullets are flying, and if you get hit by a bullet, you're just dead. That's just how it works. Oh, Frank, avenge me. Remember your training. Nope. These characters are just dead. So you feel for the guy. I want this guy to get his vengeance so much, even though he spends the entire film trying to convince everyone that no, this isn't vengeance, it's punishment. Now, when I think of the Punisher comic books, when I think of the character the Punisher, my mind goes to a John Berthal-like person. Soft-spoken, but you can tell when they get pissed off and when they start raging, you don't want to be in the room with them. I don't get that with Thomas Jane. He always seemed like a really cool dude that I'd want to hang out with. Even in this movie, it's weird because he dyes his hair black, which I know that he's at least like a dirty blonde, so it looks strange. And for him to deliver lines like, it's not vengeance, it's punishment, but in that Thomas Jane voice, it's not as intimidating as I think the director and the creators wanted it to be. Good business? Murder? Does Saint charge you for each person, or does it get a group rate discount? It just comes across as cheesy one-liners, and not just a badass dude going through some serious PTSD. But if you want the PTSD version of The Punisher, definitely check out that Netflix series. I think it's really cool. It's slow a lot of the times, but once you get to the end of the season, yeah, that's when it starts picking up. But what I like most about this movie is its use of levity during a situation that is anything but funny. We have a whole innocent family that is just massacred. nothing funny about that. And by all accounts, this movie should just be a dark and dreary film like Prisoners, like what I reviewed a couple of weeks ago. But because this is Marvel, it's comic booky, there is some nice use of jokes and levity here. Particularly when we get to Ben Foster at the apartment complex and also Bumbo. Bumbo, he's the big guy that cooks all the time and sings opera. And I wouldn't be shocked if this was the first time that I ever heard La Donna Immobile. And of course that song is playing in the background when Thomas Jane is fighting Diesel. I love non-diegetic music like that. Music that is just playing, we don't know where it's coming from, and it definitely doesn't fit the situation that they're in. One of the better moments of this movie. So I like this character Frank Castle, and I like this origin of how he becomes this just soulless person that goes out and is acting out his revenge on this guy, Howard Saint. The movie, though, gets very, very cheesy with all of these one-liners that are thrown out. It actually becomes pretty irritating. My condolences, Counsel. Go with God. God's gonna sit this one out. You shouldn't play with knives. Did you like that song? I wrote it for you. I'm gonna sing it at your funeral. One-liners after one-liner after one-liner. It gets a little irritating, but to the point where it becomes hilarious. And the character of Howard Saint, played by John Travolta. At first, it seems like he is just a mastermind, a crime kingpin of the Southeast. Florida, Miami, Little Cuba, everything. It just seems like he's running the joint for the first, 20 minutes. But then when Frank Castle comes back, and starts telling everyone, hey, I'm back, leaving his tombstone on the golf course that Howard Saint plays at, and just showing up and exploding all of these drug deals and exploding money. I feel like Howard Saint just gets dumber as the movie goes along. Because Castle's main goal here is to set up Howard Saint's best friend and his wife to the idea that, hey, they're having an affair, and Howard Saint is going to act out his revenge on those two. But if I'm Howard Saint, and I know that Frank Castle, who is supposed to be dead, who I murdered and who I killed his entire family, if I know that he is back and he's stalking me, and this just starts happening, I would make the connection. But he doesn't, and he ends up doing some things that he definitely regrets, and it almost makes you feel bad for Howard Saint. They even have a stare down at one point where Frank Castle says, you murdered my family, and Howard Saint says, you murdered my son. Again, where does that conversation end? You did this to me, so I did this to you. Well, the reason why I did that to you is because you did this to me. Well, because I did it to you. Just, it's never ending. See, this is why we need gun control, because these people shouldn't be playing around with these toys. I think this is a very unique superhero comic book movie that came out in a time where the big superhero boom was just beginning and we were getting spectacular superhero films like Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, someone with superhero powers. But here's a comic book character that is labeled as, hey, this is from Marvel, the same studio that brought you Spider-Man and X-Men. But here's just this guy who is a soldier. He doesn't do anything special other than makes you regret your decisions. I think it was jarring for audiences. I don't think this movie did that well in the box office. Plus it's rated R, which was very jarring for a superhero movie back then. But I remember having such a great time with this movie, and with that climax, just going, wow, holy shit, don't fuck with Frank Castle. Ever. I remember really liking it and really having a good time throughout this entire film. And personally, I wish we would have gotten more films with Thomas Jane as the Punisher. I know he made that fam film, 10 years ago. It was called Dirty Laundry. It was like a 10-minute short where these crime people were pulling up and the Punisher is just at the laundromat doing his laundry, and he's deciding whether or not to just continue doing his laundry or go out and do something. It's a short 10-minute little film. It's probably online, probably on YouTube that you can check out. But I wish we would have gotten more with him, and sadly, we never saw him as the Punisher again after this. And the Punisher is just one of those characters that is just, it's an anomaly when it comes to the Marvel and the MCU. I know that they did the TV show on Netflix, which I actually really, really liked. Not the best thing that they did, but I really liked John Berthal as the Punisher. It'd be interesting to see where they go from there. I know that they're not going to be continuing with the Netflix series, and if anything, if they're going to incorporate them into the MCU, I'm interested to see what they do with it. But for the meantime, I'm going to give the Punisher 3.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I am above average.
Alright everyone, now comes my favorite part of my videos where I pick which movie I'm going to be watching next. The next one comes as a recommendation from one of my subscribers, Gemma R. You recommended Kill Bill Volume 2. You recommended this one along with Kill Bill Volume 1 that I reviewed several months back. So now we gotta complete the bride's story. This is Quentin Tarantino with his love of samurai movies and fun dialogue and really long 4-hour, 5-hour stories that we'll check out next time. Thank you very much, Gemma R, for the recommendation. If any of you have recommendations of films that you want me to review on here, leave your comment below this video, or go to my Facebook page, my Instagram, or my Twitter and leave your recommendation there. If I have access to it, I will watch, review it, and give you a shout out on the channel. So guys, have you seen The Punisher? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you saw here, if you like my take on movies, then hit that subscribe button and also make sure you hit that bell so you know the next time I'm releasing my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of Kill Bill Volume 2. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.